Welcome to the Lead Security YouTube channel, your ultimate guide to creating a safe and inviting church environment. My name is Preston Hocker. I've been a pastor for 20 years in Virginia Beach. I'm also one of two owners of a private security company specializing in private investigation and executive protection. I'm here to guide you to effectively leading security at your church. This channel is dedicated to empowering you, the church leader, with tools, strategies, and insights that are needed to build a sturdy church security department. Subscribe to our channel today and let us guide you to creating a safer place for worship, fellowship, and community. Today, we're exploring a concept that can significantly enhance our security measures. It's called the combat rule of three, inspired by Patrick van Horne's insights in his book, Left of Bang. It's a must read for anybody who is security minded or wanting to become more situationally aware. The combat rule of three is straightforward, but it's powerful. It states that when you observe three anomalies, or what we often call yellow flags, you must make a decision. This rule helps us move from merely observing to taking action. It ensures that we're proactive rather than just reactive. Let's break down how this applies in a church setting. Imagine it's a busy Sunday morning. Our security team is in place. We're scanning the crowd looking for anything that's unusual. First yellow flag, a person pushes past our greeters. They're avoiding any interaction whatsoever. The second yellow flag, the same individual is seen constantly checking their bag repeatedly. They're not looking for something, they're just kind of checking. The third yellow flag, they're pacing back and forth. That same person is pacing back and forth near the exit in the back of your sanctuary. Individually, these actions might not suggest a threat, but when we put them all together, according to the combat rule of three, they trigger a need for a close inspection. This is where our team should engage. They should engage calmly and respectfully. Patrick van Horne puts it perfectly when he says the ability to recognize and act upon patterns in human behavior before all hell breaks loose is the essence of staying left of bang. This proactive stance is what the combat rule of three is all about. Let me help you understand the concept of left of bang a little more clearly. In this graphic, we see the right of bang is what happens when a catastrophic event takes place and we're left to pick up all the pieces. We're administering first aid. We're calling 911. If CPR needs to be done, we are administering CPR. We're looking for a lost child who was able to slip out of our kids' church room unnoticed. Now, left of bang is when we use situational awareness. We're using pattern recognition and body language indicators to help keep people safe. The combat rule of three is a large part of staying on the left of that timeline. Here are a few tips on implementing the combat rule of three in your church security plan. Number one, train regularly. I love using the term regularly here because it might not be feasible or reasonable to plan to train your team of volunteers every single week. It might not even be reasonable to train your people once a month. You might be at a very small church with a very small staff. However, you can set a reasonable training schedule and stick to it. Second, simulate scenarios. Regular drills based on the combat rule of three can prepare your team for real situations. We do role-playing drills with our teams. Being that I have access to a security team with employees who don't all go to my church, I employ my team to come role play as anything from a concerned mom who's wandering the church or wandering the Christian education wing to a creep who seems to be writing out a manifesto while sitting on the back row of the church. The key here is getting some friends who aren't familiar with your team or friends that your team aren't familiar with. It might be some friends from work. It might be some friends from a softball team. Get some people who can use what I call an intelligent imagination to create scenarios that are probable to your church's setting. An intelligent imagination is what we get when we measure what is actually feasible within the context of our current situation. That means we imagine what kinds of threats are actually possible and dismiss the ones that don't make sense at all. See, it's possible that someone could try to abduct a child from your Sunday school classroom, but it's not very likely that your church in small town Camden, Ohio is going to face a 5-man fight team of retired special operators who are trying to assassinate your senior pastor. So naturally, we should focus on training for the former scenario, not the last one. The last thing you want to do in order to implement the combat rule of 3 in your church is communicate clearly. Always maintain open lines of communication among all your team members. That means outside of church, you've got some kind of text thread. I recommend using an app like Signal. For one, it's easy to add and take away members from text threads, where in a regular text thread, like just what comes stock on your phone, if somebody decides that they're leaving or they don't want to be a part of the team, or maybe they're moving to another state, you have to create a whole new text thread. Another reason is because the texting is actually encrypted. So it's very difficult for anybody to hack in and get information that might be on that thread. You also need to maintain communication while you're in an event, while you're at church on Sunday or on a Wednesday night. You need to have radios. If you don't have radios, get some. If your pastor or your elders haven't released some funding for your safety or security team, they need to wake up. But that's probably a conversation for another day. Still, if you don't have access to or funding for some two-way radios, try an app called Zello. It's a free solution for when two-way radios aren't an option, and there are tons of accessories like Bluetooth push-to-talk buttons that interact with the app seamlessly. Communication is crucial because communication allows your team to be efficient. Implementing the combat rule of 3 isn't just about enhancing security. It's about creating a safe and welcoming environment for all who come to worship at your location, which should be the aim for all churches, no matter what your denominational affiliation is. Not only that, the combat rule of 3 keeps passive people accountable to responding when response is required. It also keeps aggressive team members in check. They have to wait for 3 yellow flags before they get to respond. That means they don't get to be the Sunday morning Rambo anymore. They now have a rule. They have a policy that everyone has to abide by. Thank you so much for joining me today. Remember, security is a crucial aspect of ministry. And by being prepared, we're actually expressing care and love for the people we call friends. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more insights on church security. Remember, as always, stay safe and be blessed.